You enjoying yourself?
Yeah, kind of.
I understand that. I'm having a bit of a crazy week.
Happy to
Um,
be not
where
moving.
am I at? There we go. I think that fixed it.
Is that me glitching?
Yeah, I'm not in my normal spot with my normal camera. Um, I let 2 weeks ago my grandparents bought a new house and they decided to go on a cruise last week. And while they were on a cruise, my grandmother fell, concussed herself, split her head open, broke her arm, and she
Oh
had
my
surgery
god.
on Friday. And on Saturday morning, my grandfather had a stroke. So I'm about
Oh
two
god.
hours away from home, set up shop in their house. So it's it's an
Everybody
interesting week.
okay or?
Oh yeah, they're gonna be fine. They went for their all their follow up visits and everything today. We got my grandfather out of the emergency room yesterday, right around 2 or 3 o'clock, and he went for his checkup. So he's doing a lot better. But
Wow.
let's see here.
It's
Trying
a
to
heck of a few days.
yeah. Well, it says I'm live. Skip trial. There we go. It looks like I'm live. Yep. We are live, and I can see comments and everything else. Good deal. Well, it's nice to get to talk to you, King Noob.
Right. Oh
Technically,
god.
the whole show's for you, right?
No.
Master
No,
and
it's the
Commander.
health goes for everybody.
So, so how's business been going? Are you guys ramping up? Are you getting ready to ramp up?
We usually prepare for first, second week of September, right around Labor Day or so. First cold snap for work to pick up, but it's picked up. I think last week it started to. This week it's off to an amazing start. The
Yeah.
phone hasn't stopped ringing today. I tried to
Oh,
get a word in edgewise with the office, and they were just on the phone nonstop. I'm going, all right, well, here we go. And it was hot today. It was humid and it was gross, and we were just sticky walking out the door. And I'm going, why are people calling right now? It's going to be a crazy year.
it's gonna be an amazing year. It's gonna be. So our weekly average in August is for the last 26 years has been somewhere between 45 and 55,000 a week in the month of August, and it's we lose
Yep.
money every month in August and every year in August. And week before last, I had I worked with the guys. I've been working with them, trying to get them to know the process. And week before last, we did $98,500.
Wow.
We closed out last week at just right at $99,000. And I just got off the phone with the last guy in the field, and his last sale puts us at $50,000 for today.
Holy crap.
So
It's
we're
ramping up, that's for sure.
yeah, we're working the process. We're trying to make it. Like I tell everybody, if you can get everyone to believe in the process, if you can get your people to be your first evangelist, they can go out and convert the customers to be evangelists for you, and
Absolutely.
and that's where we're at right now. I told them I had two guys. We had slowed down a few weeks back, and we didn't have enough work coming in to keep all the trucks busy. And I told the sales guys, I said, "Hey, what we're gonna do is I'm going to take myself out of the field completely, and I'm not going to go sell anymore. And I'm just going to work with you, and I'm going to pair everybody up, and it's going to be two educators per truck. Let me put this on silent so people stop messing with me. It's I'm going to put two educators to a truck, and while you're driving around, you need to be going back and forth. I want you to be doing some role playing. I want you to be talking. I want you to do everything else. And I had one pair that it came down to it 3 weeks ago. They said, look, we'd rather take whatever work we can get and go and do 1 and 2 jobs a day rather than work together. And so we sat down and we had a little come to Jesus meeting and we talked about what it means to be a team. and a family and what's expected. And, if you guys are doing this with each other in the field, the customers feel that. And
Absolutely.
today I had a conversation with them and I said, okay, that was 3 weeks ago. And we did $39,000 3 weeks ago. And I said, we worked it out. We've had better communication. You guys are getting along. And week before last, we did 100 grand. Last week we did 100 grand. And just those two today did over $25,000 together. I said, how does that make you guys feel? They said, we don't know what was wrong with us before. I was like, I know, right?
Right.
I was like, I don't know honestly why I was having to have those conversations. That's not something that anybody should have to have. I was like, I'm when I go through my hiring process, I hire people that I want to work with, people that I think are going to treat the customer the way that I would treat them, and I expect you guys to be able to do the same with each other. I don't understand what the holdup was. And once they actually sat down and started talking and working a game plan and really communicating their needs, because one gentleman is older and he needs to make a few extra bathroom stops during the day, and the other one, he has some dietary restrictions and can't just eat out of gas stations all day. It's like, if you guys communicate your needs, we'll get along a lot better. And sure enough, man, they've been knocking that out of the park. He called me on that last one. He said, hey, can I work with this lady on this price a little bit? And I looked at it and I said, yeah. And she was like, okay, do it. We didn't give her next to anything off. And funny enough, that first week that we did $100,000, that first 100,000, I told the guys, I said, look, for this week, anything that you sell over $8,000, I want you to get a payment for 25%. And they said 25%. I was like, yep. And we had jobs $25,000, $30, $30,000, and I said, 25%, and they went out there and they did it. And then last Monday, in our morning meeting, I said, okay, starting this week, anything over $5,000, get 25%. And they said, what? I was like, yep. And they went out and they did it. And then starting this morning, I told them, every job, it doesn't matter the dollar amount, start taking 25% down. And they said, nobody's going to do that. If it's $1,000 job, they're not going to give me $250. I said, yes, they will. I said, the whole point of it is I don't want the money. I want the customer to be financially invested in us, so that if they put that 25% down, they're less likely to try and balk on it later, because they've invested, they've engaged. They can see that
Absolutely.
debit out of that bank account right then and there. And so I think I have a room full of believers now. So.
Well, you hit it on the head. It's got to be about teamwork, and that's something that I've preached for the longest time. And it's different when I'm in the truck and the owner's there, the boss is around, kind of thing. But you've got to get that to permeate through the company. And
oh yeah.
The bigger the company gets, now you've got two different people in a van, and their personalities, like you're talking about, you got different needs, different wants, different attitudes, and you got to keep that theme of teamwork, because it's always teamwork. And somebody gets a title or somebody gets a promotion or something happens, somebody's having a bad day, and all of a sudden that teamwork is the first thing to go out the window. And you've got to keep that culture going. Everybody's got to be helping each other, feeding off each other. Somebody gets down, you got to bring them up. You can't just be like, oh, he's having a bad day, leave him in the truck, I'm going to go take care of the work. It's got to be, hey man, what's going on? I had some of the most amazing conversations as an employee and as an owner in the van. Like, some of the most amazing conversations and life-altering discussions and come to Jesus moments, like right there in the van. And you're like, man, just having that camaraderie, that, time together. And I started to see that slip last year. I started to see people just getting in the van, and I'm going to sit on my phone and I'm going to stare at the GPS and, let's get the job over with. And I'm like, man, we're losing it. And we had to do a whole culture shift to get everybody back into picking each other up, feeding off each other, helping each other, because it's a team out there. I talked about it in one of the podcasts, like that foxhole mentality. You guys got to go out and do a crazy job in stupid temperatures and heights and crawl spaces, and the job sucks. If you make it harder than it needs to be, it's going to really suck. So get out there and have some fun while you're doing it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I always tell people you have to find a way to turn your profession into your calling, and
Absolutely.
that's really. I heard somebody say that last year. I'm like, oh holy cow, that's what I've been doing the whole time. I just fell face first in it. I don't want to, and it's amazing how when people are trying to gauge the success of a business, it really everybody wants to try and gauge success in one way. For the guys that are in the field, for my educators, for my tech crews, for my everything else, you really have to be able to celebrate the small victories and not just the big ones. And at the same time, if we didn't get somebody, everybody wants to talk about like with us. Last week we did right at 100 grand. That's great. I'm going back through and I'm reviewing those jobs this week, and I'm calling all those customers, and I'm trying to figure out why we didn't get the other 50.
Yep.
And I'm working on the week before, and I need to know what we didn't do or what we could have done better, or did we correctly classify the customer, hand them the estimate, and then move on. Because I don't know if you've seen any of the videos where I explain my ABCs of sales, um,
I
but
think it's not one of them.
classifying the value that the customer holds on the chimney. And Alan Rush has said it before: if the customer doesn't have any value in the chimney and they just want to do the cheapest thing possible, not necessarily the customer, right? And so
Yep.
I'm really trying to drive home to these guys that they have to find a way to build value. If they value the chimney and fireplace, X amount, build on that value, build on that experience. I tell them to use what I call the 3 Ps of selling, because we're in the unique position that we get to sell inside of a customer's home, right? So the 3 Ps are peruse, process, and perform. So when you're in the house, if one of the kids is wearing a sports jersey, or if the dad's got a hunting rifle, a picture of him with a hunting rifle with a deer, you've got to have some one-off first person experience with something that's in that house. And all you need to find is one thing that you can attach to, and then unfold that personal experience.
You got to
And
build
so,
that rapport.
if a kid's wearing a sports jersey, hey, what school do you go to? Oh yeah, I think my kids play against you. Start that base level conversation so that there's some kind of an emotional connection with everybody.
Yep.
And then once you're in
One
a
of the
once
things I learned in sales early on,
yeah.
it stuck with me for some reason from a long time ago, but I was doing furniture sales at the time, and the guy said, if a customer comes in, and says something like, I'm really looking for this couch that I saw. I was in Hawaii last week and I saw this couch, and I want to know if you have it in green. Do you have it in green? He goes, 99% of people will be like, absolutely. Let me pull it up. Here it is. Here's the price. Here's get it to you. Boom, boom, boom. I've served the customer. But nobody's going to say I saw it in Hawaii. That's a subliminal thing. They're going to bring that up. Maybe they weren't even trying to, but they brought it up trying to get a conversation started. Maybe trying to brag. Who knows? But they brought it up. So instead of, yeah, we can get it in green, it's, you were in Hawaii? Where'd you go? How long did you stay? When did you get back? How'd you like it? I've always wanted to go. I've never been. And that's something, that's that rapport. And it's so easy to lose that when you're talking to a customer. We do it all the time. We'll go into a house, it's the middle of fall, we're just run down, we've seen 1,000 fireplaces at this point, and they're like, you know, just sweep it and run kind of thing. But
Yep.
just stopping and having that conversation, finding, like you're saying, some kind of rapport, connection, some kind of conversational topic that makes it not just about chimneys and fireplaces. They love that. You got to be personal with them.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Hey Tim.
Hey,
But yeah, absolutely.
can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you. So, but yeah,
All
no,
right.
absolutely. The ability to get in and not just get inside the home, but to get inside their mind and their heart. If you can make that personal connection, it really does. It adds to the whole everything. So, um, that's I one of the big things that everybody I guess is kind of latched onto that I do is the whole chimney dance. Everybody wants to know about the chimney dance. So
I've
I
heard
do
about
all
that. I
of
haven't
those.
seen it yet.
Say what?
I've heard about that. I haven't seen it. I think we need a demonstration of the chimney dam.
So I really think that if you can get somebody involved with the process, and if you can get them to smile, you know, positive experience, they're going to latch onto that more. And so I try to find little things that I can get customers to do that are physical and that gets them smiling and gets them interacting. So hang on here. I'm going to change the screen up just a little bit so that we can. Let's see here. We'll do that. And we'll do. Oh, I think I know how to do this. There. All right. So now you can see my hands. So one of the things that I do is I always, and I say it exactly like this, is that, what I tell all my trainees is I tell them about the three main parts of any chimney and fireplace. And that's the firebox. The firebox is where you put the fire. And then there is the smoke chamber. And you tell them about, that's the point where it condenses everything down to the smaller size to fit the size of the flue. And I always tell them those are my dance moves. Firebox, smoke chamber, flue. Firebox, smoke chamber, flue. And I get the customers to do it. And then that way, when I'm talking about the flue, they know where I'm talking about. When I'm talking about the smoke chamber's not parged, they say the smoke chamber. It's like, yeah, the smoke chamber. They're okay. And then when the husband comes back in, it's like he's telling me about the smoke chamber. And then I also when we're doing a sweep, and when we had our big company meeting back in May, I had all the technicians, I had all the educators together, and I walked them through the master services way to do a chimney sweep. And then we always tell the customers to leave that damper closed 8 to 10 hours. Let that dust settle, and then when you open the damper, it's natural for some of it to fall out. So the way that I like to ensure that happens is that you tell them to get the customer involved with it. And then I always say, so have you guys ever been to a concert? Oh, yeah, we've been to a concert. You ever been to a concert where you do call and response? Ayo, ayo, right? So everybody knows call and response. It's like, all right, so we're going to do a little call and response. I'm going to say how long should the damper stay closed, and you're going to say 8 to 10 hours. And then I'll tell the customer, it's like, all right, let's get our hands up. Let's start going. How long should the damper stay closed? 8 to 10 hours, And we get them going back and forth. And that's just, I really think that if you can do those little things, that you're getting the customer to interact. You're getting the customer to pay attention. And if they feel like you're bringing them into the process, they feel more knowledgeable and they feel at peace with whatever it is that you're trying to tell them, because they know what it is that you're talking about. It's the sale is just the transference of confidence. All that I'm doing is I'm transferring my confidence in myself and in my knowledge and in my skills and the confidence that I have in my company to do the necessary repairs to the customer. And if I can give them that confidence, then there's not any reason in the world they're not going to approve my work order. Yeah.
It's hard transferring that to a customer. I always say that I always say it and I can't remember. It's late in the day. We have to explain problems customers didn't know they had in places that they've never seen using words they've never heard of. That's our job. And like you're talking about, getting them to understand just what's behind that wall. Most of the customers only know the firebox. That's all they know. They don't know about flues or wides. I always tell my technicians, most homeowners, and this is not a dig to them or an insult in any way, it just is what it is. Most of them think that the smoke just goes up and vents into this giant man-sized cavity that Santa Claus fits down, or could fit down if he was real, right? They think that. And I'll talk to them a lot, and I'll say, oh, well, your fireplace is fine, but your boiler flue over here is completely, wrong. We got to fix it. It's cracked and it's bad. And they all go, oh, no, does the whole thing have to come down? Or can I not use my fireplace? Or they'll use these words that make me understand they don't know what's going on behind that wall. And my technicians laugh at me because when I'm in the field, I use my hands a lot. I'm here and I'm there and I'm doing the same thing. I don't get them dancing with me. They just kind of sit there and watch me like some kind of a plane navigator. I'm like doing all this, but I'm always trying to point, and over here you got this, and behind that is this, and this is separate from that. But getting them to understand places they've never seen with words they've never heard, and try to tell them there's a problem there that they didn't know they had. That's an art. You have to be able to translate that into their understanding before you can ever give them any kind of a price tag on it.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And
Yeah, I feel like Mark's. Oh, sorry.
no, you go ahead, please. I've been talking long enough.
Mark's given us a lot of good diagrams and good what's the word for it? I guess brochures to show people, cutaways of their fireplace or cutaways of their chimney, and demonstrations of how a flue fire can become a chimney fire, and kind of the differences between those two, and how chimney fires lead to house fires. And when you're pointing at this diagram on the iPad and you see here next to this fire, that's where your rafters would be. That's why this missing mortar joint or these vertical cracks in your flue tiles are important to you. And then you see them kind of look up at their ceiling and they go, oh, you use visual aids to help them.
Yeah.
At least that's what I do a lot of. And I wave my arms around like John.
Yeah, a lot of over there.
Diagrams are so key because you can explain so much, but to be able to show them that, we do the same thing. I had a bunch of diagrams made up that show inside and cutaways, and this is what this looks like, and it's all labeled. And I mean, the more you can educate your customer, the better off they are. Whether they pay you for repairs or not. There was one of my favorite reviews we got on Google. The guy said, "I feel safer for having Ceasar chimney out here. I understand my chimney better." And I said, that means more to me than any multi-$1,000 sale or rebuild or any. I could give a crap about that. But when somebody puts online for all the world to see, I feel safer that they explained this to me, and I now understand my home better. That is all I'm looking for. That's gold.
Oh yeah, and I use as many tools as I can. So if I get in and when I get my camera up, first thing I see is a big creosote buildup. Ask a Chimney Sweep on YouTube has a great video on what is creosote, and it's not long. It's like 3.5 minutes. But I'll say something about, I see some pretty decent creosote buildup. This is might take me a minute because I want to make sure I see every inch. And the customers will be like, well, what's creosote? What's a creosote buildup? What does that mean? And I take my phone out and I go to that video and I hit play and I hand it to them. And I start working that camera. And they're watching the video just intently. They get the volume all turned up. And I'm getting the camera up and I get all my pictures. I get the camera back down. And by the time the video's done, they're like, oh my gosh, I had no idea. And I said, all right, so you've seen it. Now I want you to look at the pictures of yours, and you tell me what the right answer is. What do we need to do here? And they're like, no, we have to get this fixed. It's like, absolutely, let's get this fixed. Let's do that. Let me do that for you. So, yeah, I'm the same way.
Having the customer there for camera scanning is so, I don't think it's appreciated enough, but too many people get into that inspection mindset. I got to go scan the flue again. I got to run the camera up there. But having the customer there, like they've never seen this $5,000 piece of equipment. You bring them over, like, you ever seen one of these? No. We're going to go up inside. We're going to see what's inside your chimney. And they sit right down next to me. I'm like, so watch this here. You hold this, and I'm going to push the brush, and you watch on the screen and tell me if you see anything. And they'll pick out, oh, there's a crack. Oh, there's a hole. Or this isn't connected. Or is that supposed to be there? And I'm just like, no, that's not. Oh, look at that. You're right. You found it. And they're inspecting the chimney for me. But they've never seen behind that wall. You can explain everything all you want, but if they're sitting there holding the screen while this piece of equipment goes up, it blows their mind, and they're involved. They're part of it now. It's not just getting a bill or a report at the end. They're like, I was there. I saw it. I caught it before he did, kind of thing.
Yeah.
I went to there's a college here that they were doing, I guess, kind of auditions to see who could repair a bunch of their old antique fireplaces. And they called us up and they said, we want a level 2. I'm like, that doesn't happen very often. So I go out there and they said, you're the third company to come out. We want you to run a camera up this flue and tell us what you find. Tell us how you fix it. So it was literally like an audition. I'm like, okay. Pulled the camera out and I was like, you want to watch? And he goes, watch what? I was like, the screen. I'm the third one out that's not a level 2, so you must have seen these cameras. He goes, yeah, the other guys had cameras. I'm like, oh, so you've already seen in there? He goes, no, I haven't seen it there. I was like, dude, pull up a chair. Here's a bucket. I turn the bucket over for him. I'm like, have a seat, hold this. And I start scanning it. And he's like, what is that? Oh my God, is that a nest? I'm like, yeah, that's a nest. And he's watching it, and we got the contract. But other companies came out and they're like, gotta do a level 2, gotta run the camera, this sucks, okay. And they're just shoving it up and gave a report. I involved the guy, and we got the contract strictly because of that. He goes, nobody else even brought me into the fold. They just gave me a report at the end of the day. I'm like, well, that's sad.
Yeah. And I see some of those videos that you post on YouTube about the guy that always talks about hiring and empowering your employees and whatnot. And I really
Gary V.
I really like what he says about you can't expect your employees to work as hard as you. Because if you're the owner, if there's a problem in the company, it's our fault, right? The owners and operators, it's our fault. The guys that are out there doing the job, it's either some way that we've trained them or we just hired the wrong person. And one of the big things is making sure that if we're going to have somebody go out and estimate on a job, you need to hire the person from day one that's going to go out and do the job right and is willing to accept the information and willing, this is your mission if you choose to accept it. If not, let's move on. So I really feel that mindset of, darn it, I got to do a level 2. Jeez, oh Pete, I got to get in the attic now. It's 105 outside. It's 160 in the attic. Man, I just literally look at it as, okay, got to get in the attic. Let's get back there. Let's get it done. Let's get out. So, and then I'll do the attic first, and then the rest of the job is in the air conditioning, other than the outside part. So it's and then
There you go. That's time management. I like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And we don't use chim scans. We use GoPros. And so I've got my big 12-inch iPad, and I'll sync it to. I've got an app that allows me to sync it to 2 devices, and I'll use my phone to get the pictures, and I'll have it sitting in my lap, and I'll hand the customer the iPad. They'll go sit on the couch where they're comfortable, and if they're comfortable, they can sit there and they can just take it all in, and they just it just like you said, what is that? Can you go back a little bit? Let me watch that again. Yeah, pull that sucker right back down, baby. I've got time.
Yep.
And making sure is another big one. Chad says it all the time. It's up until this year, our educators would run 70 jobs a day during the off season and up to 12 or 13 during the season. And that just so we've cut them back. If they're going to have jobs in a day, it's like 5 cap estimates, and that's it. If they're going to do all level 2s, it's 4 a day, period, nothing else. And that gives a solid 2 hours. You've got time to rope and harness, you've got time to write the estimate, and you've got time to sit and spend with the customer, make them feel valued, fully educate them on the weather 2s and the Y4s, the big 3, right? How did it get? What is it? How did it get this way? And what happens if we don't fix it? So
that's right.
It's just that's the whole process. I try to tell everybody, if you just follow the process, it works. And 2 weeks ago, it started working. And then today, I had every one of the educators calling all day long. What are we up to now? What are we up to now? What's our daily total? I finally sent a text message out at the end of the day. Stop calling. We did $50,000 today. Stop calling. So, which brings up another
the appointment
topic.
times that you're talking about. That's so key, and most people don't realize that. And I try to tell them that when I'm in a school or a seminar, and I'll say, "Yeah, we do 3 appointments a day." They all kind of sit back and go, "What?" I'm like, "We'll do 3, maybe 4." But when I was a technician for another company, I used to brag about the fact that my record, and this still holds true, my record as a technician in the field was 19 inspections and 12 sweepings. And I was proud of that. I would walk around, I'd go to conventions, I'd go to seminars. I'm like, I did 19 appointments in one day, swept 12 of them, beat that. And it was a short day. It was in the winter, so it got dark at like 4:30. I did all that in a shortened day. And I'm like, woo me. It scares the hell out of me to think about what those chimneys look like. And now that I've learned how to inspect and what to look for and how to write a proper estimate and how to document and all this stuff with roping up, we're talking about safety equipment. we can't do more than 4. Right now, we just bumped it up to 4 for the fall. And the technician's like, you're killing us. Like, I don't know if we can do that. I'm like, you can do it. We're going to start earlier. You can do I promise. There's only one more. But the level that we should be going into on these jobs, there's no way you can do more than 5 in a day. But that being said, last year, I went out in the van and I'm faster than most people. I like to brag about that. I have kind of a big head when it comes to that. And I would do 6, and I would finish early. I'm like, give me a 7th, let's go. Give me another one, and I did 8 one day in one day, and I was doing kind of good inspection reports. And I come back to the office, and my general manager goes, "Why are you doing this?" I was like, "Because I can, because I'm better, and look at me, and just all dumbass." And he goes, "Yeah, that's great." He goes, "But you're also you're better salesman than everybody else, so you're booking more. So yeah, you're doing 8 appointments, and yeah, you're booking more. You have a better closing rate. But where are we going to put the work, John?" He goes, "We're booked out. All you're doing is just pushing us further and further out into the end of the year." He goes, "Why don't we slow it back down?" And he reeled me in. He's like, "Yeah, you can, but should you?" I'm like, "That's a really good point." He's like, "What's the point? What's the end game? Just to show off?" I'm like, "Yeah, pretty much." That was what I was doing. So he's like, "No." And at that point, I realized there's no point in even trying to push that envelope. Let's do 3 to 4 solid appointments a day. Take your time, educate the customer, do the proper setup, do the proper report, and just focus on quality, not quantity. And it's changed everything.
Oh yeah. Oh, we did. I seem to have an issue with my internet. No, it's an issue with the app. That or the guys just got dropped. Hang on here 1 second while I try to fix this. There we go. Well, hang on 1 second, guys. I'm trying to fix my. There we go. Add left. Add right. Sorry about that. My camera blinked out on me. So, what I was saying is, last year we had in the middle of the summer I was working with I was working at an apartment complex. They had me come out and do 15 inspections, and while I was there, they were talking about getting all the apartments inspected, and they didn't tell me why. So I inspected 15, and out of 15, I think 7 of them needed to be ripped and replaced. And I did those 15 in 3 days. I did 5 a day, each day for 3 days. And they said, "Well, we want to do this. We want to work on it." They said, "But we've got another 460 units. When could we get this done? We need it done now." I said, "I don't know." And I looked at the schedule, and I was like, "I'm booked out until about the second week of October." And they said, "That would be perfect. Let's do it the third week." And I said, "Sure, 460 inspections. Here's the price." They said, "Yes, let's do it." I said, "Okay." And then I just called the office and I said, "Hey, we need to book 460 inspections for the third week of October. Third week of October, 460 inspections." So we brought the educators from Houston up, and we took everybody off the books for 5 straight days. And on the last day, it was me and one other educator. I only got everybody for 4 days. And on day 5, it was me and one other educator. And we got there, I think, at 6 o'clock in the morning, and we left somewhere around 9 o'clock at night. He did 65 inspections, and I did 78. And that finished it up.
Man.
And it was all 3-floor apartments, and they had breezeways. and there was 6 apartments on the first floor, 6 apartments on the second floor, and 6 apartments on the third floor. And it's just breezeway to breezeway to breezeway to breezeway. And we finished up on a Friday, and I told them, I said, you're going to have to give me until Monday to get all this assembled and write the estimate, and I've got to work through all this. They said, it's not a problem. And I went home, and I think I collapsed until Sunday afternoon. And I realized I hadn't done anything with it, and I sat up all Sunday night putting it all together. That was a crazy week.
That's a lot.
Yeah. It ended up being 178 rip and replaces.
Wow.
And what it was is we had in Dallas, we had a huge windstorm, huge straight line winds the weekend before Father's Day that year. And then on October 9th, there was a tornado that came through and ripped up half of Dallas, the city of Dallas. And we were out there on week 3 of October, 2 weeks after the tornado came through. And they're actually I think they're suing their insurance company right now because the insurance company didn't want to pay for it to get fixed.
Oh, of course not.
Yeah, it's a year. It's almost exactly a year into it, and the property owner, the guy that owns the management company, and his lawyer call me about once every 4 or 5 weeks. Hey, do you need to adjust the price? If you need to, adjust it so that we can submit the new pricing. We understand materials are going up. It's like, if you guys are calling me saying that, could you spread some of that love to the rest of the world? Tell
Right.
everybody that they need to understand that, please. So, but yeah, no, it's a job that I have really, I've done, just like everybody else. I've worked a lot of jobs, and I've got experience doing little bits of this and that. I was in engineering school. I was a year away from graduating, and I was going to be an engineer, and I needed something that I could do so that I could go to night school. And I got into my first year, my first 3 months, and I was seeing what my paychecks were. And I was like, I'm making more now than I would make. I would make as a graduated engineer. I'd have to be an engineer for 4 years under a licensed engineer. And then I could become licensed. And then I could start making close to this money. So there's no way. And I just withdrew myself, and I've been doing this ever since. And I fell face first into it, and I find an opportunity. My grandfather, before he... Not the grandfather that we're dealing with this weekend, but my dad's father, my paternal grandfather, before he passed, he always used to say, Cody, if you don't learn something new every day, you're not paying close enough attention. And I really try to learn something new, one new thing every day. And if that's cracking open my NFI books, or if that's getting on and reading on the forums about a problem that somebody might have had that I didn't have and seeing what the resolution was, any of that. And I see all of it. I see everybody else in the forums doing the exact same thing. I think that's one of the things that's really great is we're in an industry where even though we were separated for so long, we found a way to come together as a brotherhood at essentially the perfect time. Because we don't have to travel to see each other. We can do this. We can have these meetings. We can have these meetups. We can share information and ideas back and forth, I have been talking with some people that I know here in the DFW area, and I was going to propose it to Chad, but I guess he'll find out when he watches this. It's the same way I get to find out about all of his new projects, as I have to watch Chat with Chad. That's when I find out. I am trying to get a group together to do either a monthly or a bi-monthly massive Zoom call of some sort. Either this kind of a forum or just do it as a Zoom call that we can put up on Facebook Live and each of their little realtor forums, insurance agent forums. And I want to get everybody. I want to get I want to get builders. I want to get roofers. I want to get insurance guys. I want to get home inspectors. I want to get city council members. I want to get realtors. I want to get everybody involved with it. And I want to start preaching the National Fire Code. I want to start preaching upon transfer of a property, a level 2 inspection shall be performed. 15.1 point or 15.1.4.3. I tell at least 3 people about that every day. I've got it saved on my phone so I can text it to people if they ask. And I'm trying to get them all involved with it so that if we can get them to do those level 2s up front in the home sale, we can open ourselves up to that business. And then if I can get enough of the insurance guys interested in it, I want to start building off of, the guys that do dent repair? Like Walmart parking lot, you pull up and there's a huge pop-up tent and it's like free dent repair. Don't pay us anything. Go in, do your grocery shopping. When you come out, it's fixed. It won't cost you anything, right? I want to find a way to have that kind of a process and get that involved with the insurance companies for some of these customers. It's like when we talk about thermal shock and we talk about those flue tiles blowing apart, or any of those big things where we can prove that Mother Nature has just completely destroyed that chimney, like some of the spalling that happens, those kinds of things. I want to be able to go to an insurance company for a customer and say, hey, I need to open a claim for this customer, blah, 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 blah. Here's their information. Here's the inspection report. What other information do you need from me? Here's the repair estimate. Let's get it going. And I think it would be interesting.
See, Joe, two different worlds there. You got the realtors and the insurance. Insurance is something everybody needs to be aware of. And Corey Flowers did a great seminar in Pennsylvania talking about that. He's somebody that should be on these calls too. He's definitely part of the noob generation. But when it comes to realtors, I had the same idea, and I know that some places are getting a lot of momentum with that. But up here in Maine, a couple of years ago, I don't know if it was just an area or the whole state or something, but part of Maine made that a regulation. They said in order to sell a home or buy a home, you have to have a level 2 chimney inspection done. They bought into the fire code. They said this is needed. Let's do it. And it backed up the real estate market because there's not enough of us out there. And that's sobering. That's very humbling to know that we're the ones holding this up. There's people that are willing to. There's realtors that listen. There's legislative bodies that are like, all right, we get it. Let's do it. They had to rescind it. And they said, forget it, because there wasn't enough qualified agencies out there to do it. And the real estate market was backed up strictly because of chimneys. And I didn't really understand, because we get these calls all the time. We laugh at them when they come in. Somebody's like, I'm buying a house. I need my inspection tomorrow. We're like, good luck. Like, who does that? And we'd always be like, sorry, call somebody else, until I bought this house. Going through the closing, I'm getting everything ready, and she hands me a stack of papers, and she goes, here, you need this done in 10 days.
Oh, yeah.
I went, what? And I start going through it, and it's the septic, and it's the roof, and it's the plumbing. And chimney was lost in there. It wasn't as prominent as it should be. But I'm kind of thankful for that, because I had to get, it's a good thing I know people, and I got it done. But it's not the homeowner's fault. I don't laugh at them when they call. Now I feel bad. I'm like, I'm really sorry. And the realtor that helped us buy this house is my wife's cousin, really close family, and she's helped us out with this. And she said, man, we were actually looking at this house. She goes, man, I wish I could refer you more. I said, what are you talking about? I said, we're here in the trucks and the advertising and this. She goes, no, I can't refer you because every time I do, you're booked out too far. And I'm like, you're right. So that real estate sucks. They need it done within 10 days most times. And there's not enough of us out there, or enough of us with free enough time to do that. I have a family member trying to give me real estate transactions, and I can't take them on. I'm like, all right, I don't know what to do now. We just need more of us. We need more education. We need more people that can do it.
Yeah.
Insurance is a whole other game. Everybody should know insurance.
And that leads right into that whole post that I made a few months ago, where I kind of started picking a fight with some people about, when we talk about the people that we've lost in the industry through retirement or through their passing, that's, I'm right there. They need to be mourned. But what I want to see is I want to see more posts about how are we getting the next generation to sign up. And Mark's direct comment to that was, "We're getting plenty of people to sign up, and you know, we're getting plenty of people for each individual company to feel comfortable. But if we want to be, you know, like you've said before, we should get treated like HVAC guys or like the electricians. You walk in and the price is the price. You know, don't haggle with me. Don't ask for a discount. If an electrician walked in and said, "Hey, if we don't replace this, you know, the box, the wall box, your house is going to burn down," they'd be like, "Do you need a check now or do you need a check after? You know, how much? I don't even care what you just. I'll hand it to you. You fill it out." That's the same mindset that we need to have. But to get that, people have got to be used to calling us out. It's going to have to be more like the chimney sweeps in Europe, where we, you know, whether there's 100,000 companies each with 5 employees, or there's 5 companies each with 100,000 employees. We've got to find a way to attract those kids that want to come in. You know, maybe start doing, you know, the job fairs at the schools. When they have the firefighter come up and do his little speech, and they have the brain surgeon come up and do his little speech, why not a chimney sweep? You know, getting involved with the PTA at school. You find out about those career days at the high school. I'm down for it. I'll go and I'll tell people, "Hey, look, as a chimney sweep, I took home my take home my first year was I think it was just under $100,000, and that was from day one. All I knew was the fire goes in the fireplace. To the last day, I was able to take everybody through a process correctly, you know, and then there was that slow transition to that point, and you know, we should be able to walk into a school and tell a group of kids, "Hey, you can go to college. College is a great thing. College is great for a lot of people, but for some people, college just is not the thing. Now let me show you how you can still make $100,000 a year without a piece of paper with your name on it."
It's a numbers game, is what it is, and this is kind of a divisive topic, but we've seen all the posts, people talking about how big chimney companies are bad and we're pushing the little guys out. I thought about all the HVAC guys and the roofers and the plumbers and the electricians, and just in my town, and there's a perfect mix. There's a guy right down the road that's a single truck operator for an HVAC company, and there's also one here with 100 trucks. You got both in every trade. You need both, but it's a numbers game. And if we're going to grow to the point that we're going to be a reputable trade where we can get that kind of respect, and we can go out and get people from schools and actually know what a chimney sweep is without going, "What? We're going to dance on a roof?" Like, we have to be a real trade, and that takes numbers. We need more people becoming chimney sweeps, either owning businesses, working for businesses, so we can get the word out. And I sat in a class in Louisville where the instructor was talking about market share. And he's looking at one neighborhood in Louisville, and he said, "There's about 300 homes here. If you were to repair every single one of them, that would take you an entire year to fix this entire neighborhood." And then he zoomed out. He goes, "That's such a small portion of this town." And he talked about market share, and it really struck with me. Because I thought about here in New Hampshire, in our service area, we have about 400,000 homes that have a chimney. I have 5,000 customers, and I am the biggest chimney company in New Hampshire with such a tiny portion of serviceable homes, people that need repair, that have boilers and furnaces and issues with their homes, but we're not even scratching the surface. We need so many more people just in New Hampshire, let alone the rest of the country, that can get the word out. Because we did it, being the biggest company, I got TV ads, I've got my name everywhere. I'll put my face on anything if you let me. It's bad. We go to a trade show last year, and we got the top hats. We're doing the gimmicky thing, trying to get people to come over. I got games and stuff, and we're handing out pamphlets. I remember standing in the middle of this trade show, and had somebody on either side of me. We were on a corner, perfect spot. So we were handing out pamphlets to either side. And I was watching people walk by as we hand out a pamphlet, just information, here's what we do, here's what you need done. And people were going, "No, thanks. I don't have a fireplace. No, thanks. I didn't use my wood stove last year. No, thanks. I don't have a fireplace." And I'm going, "But you do. You do. Almost every home in New Hampshire has a masonry chimney on it, venting an oil boiler or a gas furnace or a water heater or a combination of them. And they don't realize they need to be inspected. And just because you didn't use it doesn't mean it doesn't need to be inspected. People, we as chimney sweeps have done a bad job of marketing to people. We've said, call us to sweep your chimney once a year. Call us for fire danger. There's toxic gases, there's fumes, there's carbon monoxide, there's sulfur dioxide, there's sulfuric acid, water, there's leaking. We have this whole leaky chimney thing going on. Where does water go when it gets in your home? You're talking about mold and mildew and rot, and it's so much more than, I didn't use my fireplace this year. No thanks. And I'm going, we're missing such a large portion of people, but it's a numbers game. If I made everybody in our service area understand right now that they need to call every year for an inspection, regardless of use, regardless of fuel, and every time they sold a house, they need to have a level 2 inspection, I'd be booked out to 2050. Like, there's not enough people to do that right now. So it's a beautiful time, because this generation coming up, this noob generation, this younger generation, where we're young, we're hungry, we want to grow, we want to learn, we want to do the right thing. We're not just going to be one guy in a truck with a teenage helper that shows up stoned and then complain about, like, we're not doing that. We're trying to grow this into something that we can take care of mass amounts of people. We're going to start something big here, because chimney sweeping, it has to grow. It has to turn into a real trade.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I 100% agree. And what I would say to the people that are out there that say that we're the ones that are wrong because we're growing it too big and we're choking out the smaller guy, we're not growing big. We're getting better at the process, and we're getting more calls. And when we get more calls because we're better at the process, we have to hire more people. We don't just hire people and hope it works. If somebody wants to complain that I'm putting them out of business, they need to take a good look in the mirror and figure out why I'm putting them out of business. Because it's not my intention, and it's not your intention. But we constantly educate ourselves. We update our systems. We find the best ways to communicate with the customer. And then when we get those extra few calls, we find the right person to put in the field to take those extra few calls. Then they do the same thing. And now there's 2 of us. And then we get a few more calls, and then we hire another person, and so on and so forth, until we become the biggest in our area, and people still call us. You know, we do next to no advertising at Masters. A lot of our advertising still really is word of mouth. You know, the best pick books, the neighborhood Facebook pages, you know. I got on my neighborhood Facebook page, and I asked if anybody had a chimney sweep they'd used. And they said you. It's like, I'm here, man. Let's get it done. You know?
I love it.
So that's really what it's about, is we're honing our skills because we see the opportunity, and we're not going to be satisfied with what comes with owning one truck with one helper.
I was one truck with one helper for 2 years, and I made good money, and I had a decent living. Problem was, like you said, I couldn't keep up with it. Once you do a good enough job for so long, then what do? You turn people away. You can't work. You're overworking. I know single truck operators in my area right now that work 7 days. I'm like, hey, man, you want to go out and do something Sunday? No, man, I got to put a liner in. I'm like, on Sunday? Oh, I have to put it in. I'm like, okay. I mean, I have 2 days off, and I make enough money to live. Like, I don't want that lifestyle. I don't want to be hemmed into my work forever, having to do it and not being able to help everybody. Like, you get good enough, you have to grow, or you can just stay. You can stay small. Like I said, this guy right down the road has a 1-truck plumbing company right now. Good friend of mine. He comes out and helps me on jobs once in a while. He's happy. Whatever works for everybody else.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I don't want to be stuck in a truck till I'm 70. No way in hell.
Well, I mean, we're getting kind of close to an hour. Do you want to talk a little more, or do you want to call it?
I'm good.
Okay. Well, I mean,
we talked quite a bit.
I don't want to keep you away from anything, you know. So.
No, my daughter went to bed already, so I mean,
Yeah. My family left me and went back to Denton, so I'm here with my mom and my aunt, and they're all four of the other people here are all in there asleep. They've had a rough weekend, so. But
I like what you were saying though about the Zoom call. I think we need to start with our trade first and get little mini groups together. Whatever it could be, whoever wants to show up, I don't know. That's a logistical nightmare. I've been on, 30, 40 people on a Zoom call, and it's just people talking over people and just trying to get a word in edgewise. And we need something. We got to get some kind of gathering together where we can all talk.
Yeah, that's I really am invested in making that happen. I would love to be, even if all we do is we find someone that is recognizable in the industry to, let's say, 60 to 70% of that industry. So if there's one realty person, like the, what's his name, Sadat or something, that's on that $1 million listing show, Sarat.
No.
Yeah, he was a hand model. I was looking at sales books at Books a Million. I was going through sales books because I want to do a book club with my educators, and I was flipping over, and there was Zig Ziglar's 101, all of that, and there was Sell It Like Sarat, and I was reading the back of it when my mom called me to tell me about my grandfather, and it was, he started out as a hand model, and he was broke, and he was out of work, and he went to school to become a realtor, and now he's like one of the top industry realtors for listings that are over $1 million. If you could find someone that is going to be that name catch for whatever that industry is, like you get an executive for a big insurance company that might make a few other insurance companies stand up, like State Farm. State Farm headquarters are in Plano here in Texas. You could get big time realtor that the realtors might see. And then we bring them on and we do a simplified Zoom call that is just live cast, and we could reply to some comments that pop up on the pages and whatnot. We could ask those questions, but really have that interaction with those people. Someone that maybe the realtors or the insurance guys or the contractors might actually say, hey, they've asked the right question. Let's see what the answer is. And then to have 2 or 3 of us, chimney professionals, be able to answer that question and give that right answer and kind of go back and forth, and then maybe come to an understanding across the board. Hey, this is something that needs to happen. Even if all you get is just a small percentage of people that buy into it, and they say, yes, let's start doing it, that gives you somewhere to build on. And then you do another call in 2 more months, and you get a few more. And then you get a few more. And then you start bringing on some of these people that run the companies that are working with you now. How's your experience been that we've been doing this? Because that these realtors are getting calls from the people that have bought houses over the last 14, 15 months. Hey, why didn't we do this? I called the chimney guy out, and he said that this should have been done when I bought the house. Why didn't you tell me about that? And now I've got a $20,000 repair estimate. They got to tear stuff apart. We can ask them live on air. How was your experience? Have you noticed that those negative phone calls have dropped? Have you had happier customers? Have you been able to negotiate better prices on the houses you're selling? Those kinds of situations. So
I think you put a lot of thought into it. I think you're the perfect person to make it happen.
But I really think
that's your homework. Make it happen.
Say what?
So that's your homework. Make it happen.
Yeah, that's exactly what Chad tells me. He's like, hey, can you do this thing? It's like, yeah, I think so. He's like, get back to me when it's done. It's like, do you know where I'm supposed to buy that or how I'm supposed to do it? He's like, no, that's. He says, I'm the idea guy. I'm not the engineer. You need to go figure it out.
That's a typical business owner thing. We call it delegating, but there's a different word for it. But in my office, they have it's a joke because I just say it so often that now it's become my tagline, but it's figure it out, make it work.
Yep.
There it is. They'll call me, hey, how do you do this? I don't know. Figure it out, make it work. And they actually got me a sign. It's on my desk now that says make it work, people. And I'm like, there you go.
There you go. There you go. But yeah, no, I really think, and that would give us an opportunity to grow the business at that point if we start getting more of those realty calls,
Absolutely.
So you start taking a few extra calls, and then we're doing inspections year round, right? Because people are buying houses year round, and it might slow down at one point, it might pick up at one point, but there's going to be plenty of overlap, and What if everybody what if you have an entire crew of guys that their whole thing is to be able to go out and do inspections, and you just build that realty inspection team out, and then if that slows down during the season, you can flip them over and have that much more availability for guys to run inspections during the season.
You can do that. It's just a numbers game. You got to get the people.
It'll all
And you
equal
gotta
out
grow.
at some point, you know? Everything's going to find its
Absolutely.
equilibrium. So, but anyways, so I'm sorry. I had somebody looking in the door at me. But
I've had that.
yeah. But yeah, no, absolutely. I'm really interested in getting into that, and if you'd like to be part of it, or like to at least hear about it, I can definitely keep you in the loop with it, and we can start working.
Let
on
me
it
know. I'd
together.
love to help any way I can.
Absolutely. So, what do you have? Do you have anything new coming up? Have you invented a mousetrap with anything?
No. We spend our process has kind of got honed over the last few years, where we hire in the spring, train in the summer, and then we just knuckle down for the fall. And we're at that point right now where we've just been putting so many processes into place, promoting, training, getting everybody up to speed. And now, like, we stop actually, as of tomorrow, we stop all of our advertising. We don't advertise anywhere. TV ads stop. Everything just dries up. I barely post on Facebook at that point. It's just just wait for it to happen. So I have nothing new, nothing planned. Now it's just ride the wave.
Yeah.
Pick it up again in February.
I've you tell the story about after you saw that lining that drop-in liner, and the guy was calling you out. You didn't know who he was. I don't remember the exact story, but you were all proud of yourself, and you're like, "Oh my gosh, what did I do wrong?" And then you shut down the entire company and you took them to get certified, right?
Yep.
You all went to CSIA.
Yep.
What's your process now? Day one, you just hired me. I don't know anything about chimneys. How long until I'm sitting in a CSIA classroom taking a test?
Most of the time, it depends on you. Depends on aptitude. Depends on if they want to. Really, some people don't want to be certified. They want to be leaders, and that's totally fine. Usually between 8 months and a year. But that year, we've turned it into. I mean, it's faster paced than I wanted it to be. Case in point, we just had 3 people start last week, and when they start with us, I took that training center that we built, which just turned in. It started out as like, we'll do some fun little trainings on it. To now, we have a week-long school that we put on for our employees. So you come on day one, and I mean, they're out there learning chimney terms, looking at diagrams, memorizing names of things, learning where things go, to learning safety equipment, putting up ladders, walking on roofs, harnesses, helmets, sweeping fireplaces, taking apart dampers and running cameras. And I mean, we do everything. We even have those little mini chimneys that we built during an in-house training that we put them out in the parking lot with a grinder and say, go grind it out. Okay, now repoint it. Okay, cut this brick out, crown coat it. Like, we put them through everything that we do in the field in a week. So after your first week at Ceasar Chimney, that was last week. Those 3 employees hit the ground today. Today was their first day in the field. And one of my longer employees said something to me yesterday. He goes, "Man, we're growing so fast." And I was like, yeah, we are. And he goes, "It seems like just yesterday I was the new guy. Now I'm like a vet." And I was like, "You're right." And I started thinking about it. And I looked at when he started. He's been here 5 months.
Man.
But I don't realize that when I'm in the mix, when people are running around and they're doing and the work's happening and they're getting ready in the morning or cleaning up in the afternoon. And I watch them, and they're so just adept at their job. Like, you can't tell he's only been here for 5 months. And it didn't hit me until he said it. I'm like, how long has he been here? Holy crap. But when you start pumping that information from day one, it's not, man, when I started, the guy literally said to me, he goes, "Okay, your job is to sit there and shut up. Don't talk to the customer." I was like, okay. He's like, "Don't say anything because you might mess them up and you might give them some wrong ideas." She goes, "Your job is to sit there and listen and just do what I do." And I'm like, okay. But he was also not a very good trainer. So I'd be on a roof and I'd be listening, and I'd watch him build the chimney. I'm like, "Why'd you do that? What is that tool?" And why did you, what are we going to do? Did you see? And how, and what are we going to do? And he's like, will you stop asking so many questions? And that's how I started, was sit down and shut up and don't ask any question. And here I am. So I'm like, what if as soon as you start in this trade, you know what the hell you're doing day one? You're not perfect, you're not an expert, but you know what a vacuum is. You know how to turn it on, or how to tarp, or how to sweep a fireplace, or how to take apart stovepipe, or put together a liner, or cut out a brick, or repoint. Day one, these guys have already done all of that before they've ever set foot in a van. And then it is balls to the wall after that. Mm-hmm. We have monthly reviews where the leads review them on what they know and how they act and what they're doing. We average it, so no one bad week or one bad lead with a hair across his ass can ruin somebody's career. We average it out, we compile it, and then we give them a quiz. We came up with a 20-question quiz of some chimney, like what's the part that opens a fireplace called, or opens the section to the smoke chamber. I don't know how he has it phrased, but what is this part and what happens here and how do you fix this? And how many drills do we have on the van? Like stuff they're supposed to just be picking up. And we quiz them on it, and that factors into their raise. And then it gets harder. 60-day quiz, 90-day quiz, 6-month quiz. By the time you've taken a 6-month quiz at Ceasar Chimney, you are already ready to go to the CSI school. There may not be a school available, or we may not know if you're going to be leadership material yet, or there's a lot of factors at play. But between 6 months and a year, you're going to be certified.
That's great. I love that.
It's working, which is nuts.
I'm going to tell you, Chad got us signed up on the Surefire training, the Surefire Academy. And I started going through it, everything else. We got through the season, and at some point at the beginning of this year, we were doing a big meeting. I wasn't a manager yet, but they needed somebody that was in the field every day. And so Chad said, you're going to go to the cabin office. It's like, okay. There I am with the other managers, and I really think they brought me along because I can type and take notes. So we were sitting there, we were going through it, and Chad would ask a question, ask some opinions, and I'd kind of put my hat in the ring. And at the beginning of day 2 of this whole little weekend, he looked at me and he said, by the way, you're a manager now. I was like, oh, okay. And before we left, my homework was to build a training program. And so I got on Surefire and I started looking at what was there, and I knew what the educators needed to know to go into the field. And I wrote a 6-week training program. And when I got trained, it was 2 weeks in a truck, and it was the same sit down and shut up, absorb what you can, and then good luck.
Oh yeah. Learn by osmosis.
Yeah. And the first one that I had in the field that went through the entire course and got it all done absolutely perfect. He took really, really good notes while he was watching the videos. He had a spiral notebook just packed with notes. And it was day 1 for field training. He'd done all the online stuff. And I got him out there. We got the camera up through the damper. And he goes, man, this smoke chamber looks terrible. And I look over at him, I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? He's like, look, it's got this, it's got this, it's got that, it's got that. And I felt this really weird sensation I had never felt before. I was like, holy cow, I've got a trainee sitting next to me that knows what they're looking at, and I don't have to teach while I show him how to run the camera. All I have to do is hold it, and then he's going to teach me. And while he's teaching me, he's also teaching the customer because he's saying it out loud. And then from that day on, I was a solid believer. I was like, we're doing it the right way. This is great. I love it. I don't ever want to go back to anything else. There was a few.
You hit on the biggest point of that is the leads. You're putting them out with somebody and you're like, okay, go do your work and take the new guy with you that doesn't know what he's doing.
Yeah.
I used to have the leads come back and like, please don't do that to me again. I got a big job tomorrow. This job's going to be 4 or 5 flues and I got to run. I don't want to, I can't. And I'm like, just do it. Figure it out. Make it work. And that was it. I was like, hey, and it only works for so long. I mean, you send somebody out now, like today we sent out 3 brand new people all in separate vans. The day went off without a hitch. I was sitting in my office like, oh God, there are 3 brand new people out there. And it's just going to be it. One of the guys went out with one of the brand new people, did a liner job. He was back at 11. And we're like, you're done? And like my my general manager was quizzing him. He's like, what did you have her do? And where was she, at the top or the bottom? And who connected the snout? And did you? And he goes, yeah, we got it done. She's 5 days into the trade, and they put a liner in by 11 o'clock. I'm like, God,
I love it.
it's just
I love
education is key. They have to know what they're doing. You can't grow if you're just going to put people in a van and say, follow me and do what I do, because it'll work, but it'll take years.
And that's a slow process. That's a grind. They're not going to get nearly as much information. Even if all you can give them is a list of vocabulary words and definitions at the beginning, it'll still be way better than trying to teach it when you're standing in front of somebody. You know?
Yep.
And it's
so much less pressure. If you're in somebody's house, and this all happened because one technician went out to sweep a fireplace, and the lead thought he knew what he was doing because he was in for a month at that point. And he goes up on the roof to do his inspection, comes back, and the technician's still sitting there on the hearth, all frustrated, like really mad. But he couldn't get the damper out. And the homeowner's standing there. And the job's running late, and he knows he's supposed to have it swept by now, and he never even got the fireplace open. And he came back swearing at me that night. He's like, how dare you do that to me? And I was underprepared, and you said it. And I was, the homeowner's looking at me like I'm stupid. And I'm like, you're right. I thought you had swept the fireplace a month in. I had no idea what you did or didn't know. I'm sorry. It completely caught me with my pants down. I'm like, this isn't working. We have to have a way that they can at least try everything in a controlled environment. If you put them out in somebody's house, that is not the time to show them how to work a vacuum. You're going to smoke up a basement or a living room, or God forbid, give them the chance to fail and figure it out in a controlled environment. Take the damper out 10 times before you get it out right. Absolutely. Nobody's rushing you. It might take you all day. Figure it out. Here's a trick. But putting them in somebody's house under a time crunch with a lead who's trying to get the job done and get home, and it's just a recipe for disaster and frustration.
Yeah. We get a lot of the prefabs down here, the factory built fireplaces, and I had one of my educators bound and determined that we were using the wrong equipment. He's like, I can't ever get this to go through the dampers on these prefabs. I said, well, it's easy. You just need to take a minute, take a breath, and do it. And he and I argued for the better part of a week. Now, he's in Houston, right? He's 4.5 hours away from me. I can't just pop over and help him. And so I'm sitting there thinking about it, and it's like, what am I doing differently with this guy than we've done with everybody else? And he was trained by the manager down there. He didn't train with me. And I said, okay, we're gonna redo this. I understand what the problem is. So I put myself on FaceTime, and I was in a customer's house that had a prefab, and he was in a customer's house that had a prefab. And I said, I want you to watch what I do, and I want you to do everything step by step with me. Showed him how to set it all up, showed him how to open the damper. And, some of them will have that little bar that comes out, that weight to keep it open. I'm like, so what we're going to do is we're going to kind of open it and put it in there, and then we're going to close it and shove the camera up as it goes up and in. And then it'll go up, and then when you come back down, you just go the other direction with it, and it comes right back out. And he watched me do that. He said, can you do that again? I said, yeah. And I did it. He said, do it one more time, but do it slower, and I'm going to do it with you. I said, okay. And we did it. And he's like, I've got it now. I was like, I've been arguing with this guy for a week. And all I had to do was slow down and take 10 minutes and just show him how to do it. And now he's got it. And he mentioned that at our company meeting in May. Somebody else was saying, hey, I'm having trouble getting these cameras in these flues. How do you get past the damper? And before I could say anything, Josh grabbed him and ran him over. He's like, let me show you how to do this. So it's great when you're able to take someone that's having so much trouble with something, and you're going to teach them in such a way that they feel confident enough to then take what you taught them and pass it on to another.
Yep.
And then everybody is training everybody. Everybody's the trainer. Everybody's the student. So
we circled right back to what we started with, and it's teamwork. There's nobody out there that's better than anybody else. And I mean, even as the owner, I have to show that teamwork. I went out with the guy he's now my general manager, but he was new at the time. And we go out to this lady's house. She's talking about her fire, and I'm looking at the bricks that are cracked. I'm talking about the flue and there's all these issues. And she says, yeah, well, can you fix the damper handle? And I'm like, there's nothing wrong with it. She goes, well, every time I reach in and I go to open and close the damper, I catch my hair on fire and it's too short. And I was like, well, they make these little extenders you can put on the end of it and you can hook it on it. You can see it because the damper is kind of high. Also, we can take the damper out. We put a top ceiling damper. Cord's going to go right here so you don't have to reach in. I'm just going off. I'm in like sales mode, right? I'm going to solve your problem. And Rick's standing in the background. He's a former cop. He's very quiet. He's very just stoic. And he goes, can you say that again? And she goes, what? He goes, did you say that when you reach in to open and close the damper, your hair catches on fire? He goes, yeah. And he goes, what are you doing opening and closing the damper when your hair is on fire? And I'm like, or when the log is lit, I'm like, I didn't even hear her say that. That went right over my head. I'm like, what are you doing reaching in when the fire's going? Like that, I missed it. But if I'm one of those bosses that, shut up and sit there and don't say anything, I missed that completely. And I'm like, yeah, what he said. What are you doing? And a whole different conversation started. But you have to have that teamwork where even the guy with the name on the shirt is going to be wrong. Don't be afraid to call me out because I'll say some dumb things. That's why doing a podcast scares me because I'm like, what did I say? I hope I didn't say something stupid. But that's actually my next episode. Plug is on accountability. You have to be accountable. And that's where teamwork comes in. If you don't feel that you can comfortably not call out, but, critique or help the person next to you or not be able to take critique, you're never going to grow. You have to be able to share that experience and say, I don't know what I'm doing. With you, it started with like an argument, kind of a back and forth, and it's friendly, but there's so many people in my own company, and I know in other companies that just are stick in the mud, and this is the way I've always done it, and it doesn't work, and you can't. I had employees that would be like, can I try a different way? I'm like, no, I've tried all the ways. It doesn't work, so just do it my way because I figured it out, and I'm better than you. And one day I got over that, and I was like, you know what? Yeah, you try it your way. And it worked. I forget what it was, but I was like, how did you do that? Not thinking that he's younger than me and half my size and probably a little bit more dexterous, and he was just able to do something I couldn't do. And I'm going, oh, maybe my way is not the only way. But you have to be able to ask for that help, and you have to be able to give help, and that's teamwork.
Yeah. There's on NPR, there's a show that I like to listen to called How I Built This with Guy Raz. And he gets the industry leaders, the multi-billion-dollar company, the heads of the companies. And one of my favorite ones is the guy that started OtterBox. And I was listening to that a couple of years ago, and he said that he had heard about this book called The E-Myth. And his company was failing, and he was trying to figure it out. And he had hired the author to send one of his flackies to help him with the company and to coach him and everything else. And part of the E-Myth was that you don't set it up to make robots. You should have the employees to drive the processes, and the processes is what drives the business. And that allows them to recreate their job daily if they need to. I mean, scripts, yes, but the script should be a generalized amount of information that people need to convey. But nobody's going to trust you if you're not authentic. And if they think you're just reading off of a piece of paper and you sound like you are monotone, they're not, they're like, I'm over this. But if you answer the phone and you're personable, hey, how you doing? How you momming them? Those kinds of things.
How you momming them?
It folds them in, it really does. And you're allowing your employees, like you said, to reinvent that job daily if they need to. We always joke that our family motto is that if you give the hardest job to the laziest man, he's going to find the easiest way to do it.
It's true.
And so they reinvent that job. They're going to find an efficient way to do it. Efficient for materials, efficient for time, and efficient for the amount of manpower it takes to complete the job. And if they can shave an hour and a half off of, or half a day off of dropping in a liner, because they get so good at it and they've got those little tips and tricks and things that they can do, they might have been able to install 2 liners that day, right?
Absolutely.
So that just when I heard that, it just blew my mind. I was like, oh my gosh, because I was all of the jobs I had. I grew up in a military family, so it's X, Y, and Z, no variation. And then all the jobs I had ever had when you got trained, it was X, Y, and Z, no variation. And when I heard somebody say it was okay to allow people to reinvent themselves daily to better perform their tasks, I was like, well, that makes obvious sense. You know?
I had a technician working for me a few years ago, and I sent him out with one of my well, he was experienced, but I hired him experienced. So he was one of those employees. He comes back to me and he goes, "What the hell's wrong with your employees?" I'm like, "What? How do you start a conversation like that?" He goes, I go out there and I'm like, "Okay, we should put the ladder up here." And he goes, "No, no, 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 no. John says we have to put the ladder here." He goes, "But John's not here, and this is a better place to put the ladder. It's safer and easier." And no, no, no. John always likes me to put the ladder here. And he goes, "John's not here. This is safer. We're putting it here." And then other stuff would happen. He's like, "Okay, we got John. No, John always wants this done first." And he goes, "No, I never made that a policy. I never said you have to do it in this order. But I'm a creature of habit. So I would do it in a certain order that was comfortable for me." He just picked up on, this is how it's got to be done. It's got to be done in the order that John always does it. So he's like, so I said, no, it's not what I said. That's how I would do it, but do whatever you want. And that kind of clicked in my head again. And I had a company meeting and I said, "Listen, you're all going to get this done a different way. I would put the ladder here. You would put it there. You would start at the bottom. I'd start at the top, whatever. Get the job done. I need you to get the job done." And the whole figure it out, make it work. That's still my motto and my little catchphrase, but I've had to tweak it since then. And I'll say, make it right and do it safe. So figure it out, make it work. Yes. With the parameters of don't shortcut and don't do something dumb and don't make it worse. So if you can make it right and you can make it work and you can make it safe, do it however you want to do it. And sometimes it'll take you 2 days. Sometimes it'll take you half a day. You figure out your way of doing it. Because I have mine, but like we have 32-foot fiberglass ladders on our vans. And I'm just used to them. I will pick them up and I will throw it and I'll pick it up and twirl it and stand it and carry it and do all these dumb things with it. And people are like, "Ooh, wow." And then I hire a 5'4", 125-pound guy. And I'm like, "Okay, so," and I was doing this. We go out in the trainings. I'm like, "Okay, here's the ladder. All right, now," and you do this and you can stand it up and you do it. The ladder hits the ground. And I'm like, okay, maybe we got to find a different way to train this because you're not. And that's funny, but that goes for everything else in the company. They're not me. They're not going to drive the same way I do, act the same way, talk the same way, do the same. But as long as it's done right, do it however you want to do it.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, I'm in the middle of trying to, I don't know the right word, maybe quantify everything that it is that I do when I'm in a house. And then put that into some kind of a training structure so that they can learn how I do it and they can get the basic idea and then move forward with that. So right now, that's the consistency of our meetings that we do daily, which I think has really helped. And I like to shut up during the meetings. I really do like to shut up during the meetings. I like to well, looks like we got somebody joining us here. There we go. I really like to try and get the conversation started. Hello, Jonathan.
Hey, can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hey,
How are you doing?
good, good. Just ran into this live, so I said I'll pop in.
Good deal. But I want to be able to get them to sign up and to see exactly what it is I'm doing and to be able to follow that process and then again reinvent it for themselves. You know, so it's just getting on that
SOPs have
basic
tripped me up for
information.
so long. I've tried to write them. And I can't do that with SOPs. We sat down and we did SOPs once for fireplace sweepings, and you get 10 different people in a room. And I did Mark Stoner's idea. He said to take the Post-it notes and say, okay, what's the first 3 steps? And somebody gives you the first 3 steps. Okay, anybody got something before that? People have something before that, you fill it out. It's a brilliant idea. And because of the way that I've trained them, we had 10 different ways of doing everything. So I'm like, I had to nail it down because, somebody likes to do this first, to do that first, or take pictures first, or fill the report out first. And I'm going, look, as long as it gets done and it's clean and it's safe, do it your way. So that's kind of how my SOPs have gone because I'm not good at them.
Yeah.
It's really hard to get that nailed down.
I really want them to be able to be authentic. Like we said earlier, people buy on authenticity. But if any of my experience or information or the way that I do things helps, it's there for them. And I really like them to, like I was saying, I'll we'll start the meetings off. I'll kind of get it rolling. I'll bring something up, and then I just take my hands off the steering wheel, and they navigate the whole meeting themselves. And I'll just sit back, and I've been known to get distracted because they're doing a great job. And Chad or John or somebody will text me, and I go to answer a text message, and all of a sudden I hear, "What do you think of that, Cody?" It's like, I am so sorry. Repeat that. It's like, Chad texted me. I had to reply to him real quick. So, but no, I'm really excited about this season. I think this year is going to be amazing. I really do. We had that hard freeze that hit us back in February. We've got a lot of new homes that just got purchased. We've got a lot of first-time home
Without
buyers
inspectors.
in that category. And I think this is, if I've already, in the month of August, done $300,000 or almost $400,000, and I've still got tomorrow left, and we did 50,000 of that today. This is our slow time. This time every year, Chad tells us, he calls all the educators individually. He's like, I don't want you to worry about it. Just never look more than 2 days out on your schedule. We're getting calls in.
Mm-hmm.
The schedules just aren't getting filled up. And right now, my guys are scheduled out through the end of September already. So I think
It's going to be crazy.
I think we're getting the right calls. I think we've got the right people in the field. I think they've got the right training under their belt. And as long as we manage the process and we continue to talk about it and we move forward, I think that's everything that we can do. And then it's just going to be an amazing season. Like you, I don't see myself doing much of anything on Facebook once the season starts.
Yeah, it's going to be nuts.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Jonathan, what are you doing? You in an urgent care?
Yeah, getting tested here for a flight. I gotta taking a week off right now from work. Taking a trip to Europe. Get some energy before the season starts.
Yeah, we're gonna need it. But
yeah, I'm only been around here for one season. I'm one of the freshman guys right now. I've been around for only less than a year even. So I'm looking forward to being the place where you guys are at.
It's possible. But I think I got to go.
I live in Los Angeles, so the market here is still pretty big.
I just got a text from my mom that they need my help in there, so I think I'm going to hop off. But thank everybody for coming on. I want to thank everybody that watched this or is going to watch it later. Everybody knows John. There's a couple of people that know me. If anybody ever has any questions of us, we're just here to help everyone. That was the whole point of this, is I was getting a lot of questions about my process, and I thought if we could share those ideas and the way we're doing things and really ask those questions and what ideas were upcoming, I think again, this will be a great season. I think we're going to have a lot more in the future. And I think as far as the industry goes, I think we have a really bright future. So thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, everybody, for hopping on, and we'll see you guys next time.
Have a good one.
All righty. Bye.
Thanks for sharing, guys.